Factoring quadratic functions with an a term other than 1. When you have a quadratic expression with an a term other than 1, meaning the number in front of the x squared is not 1, you always want to look for a greatest common factor. It's easiest if we can pull that out. I have a 4, a 16, but then a 15. So I don't have a greatest common factor. What you do next is build your house. Then you need to put the proper signs in the house. Here, everything is positive, so we know that everything in the house will be positive. Next, look at your factors. The factors of 4 are 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. The factors of 15, 1 times 15 and 3 times 5. Then what you do is, because you're so happy to be doing math, you draw a happy face. Don't forget the tongue. Now, this may seem silly, but you'll see what I mean in a second. What we do is we fill in the factors. Most of the time, you'll use the factors that are closest to each other. So 2 and 2, and 3 and 5 are the factors that are similar to each other. So I'm going to put 2x and 2x, because the factors of 4x squared are 2x times 2x. And then the factors of 15, I could have chosen the 1 and 15, but the 3 and 5 are closer to each other. So I put a 3 and a 5. Now we check. 3 times 2x. That's what the line is for, to show us what we're multiplying. 3 times 2x is 6x. 2x times 5 is a positive 10x. Now combine like terms to see if we have the correct number. 6x plus 10x is 16x. If the number inside the tongue is the same as your middle term, then we know we have the correct answer, and we're finished. Again, we look for a GCF. We have an 8, a 38, both are divisible by 2, but the 33 isn't. So I simply start by building my house. Now I have a negative at the end. We know that that's going to give us a positive and a negative. Then we draw our happy face. Now the factors of 8, 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. And the factors of 33, 1 times 33 and 3 times 11. Now, like I said before, the numbers that are most similar to each other, the 3 and 11, and the 2 and the 4, are most likely going to be your right answers. Then we plug them in. So I have a 2 and a 4. I'm going to plug the 4x there and the 2x here. Next, the 3 and the 11. Now we can think for a minute and look what we want in the middle term. Well, we want 38. 38 is a pretty big number. So I'm probably going to want the 4 to multiply times the 11 to give me a bigger number, which means the 3 is going to go here in the middle. Now we check. 3 times 2 is 6x. 4x times negative 11 is negative 44x. 6x take away 44x is negative 38x. I check. I'm almost right, but I'm not. I have the correct numbers with the wrong sign. Correct numbers, wrong sign. What you do then is erase your symbols and simply switch the signs. You put the negative here and the positive there. Then recheck it. Negative 3 times 2 gives me a negative 6x. 4 times 11 gives me a positive 44, which gives me a positive 38. Now I have the correct answer, and we can move on. Here I have a greatest common factor of 2, so I can take that out and put it in front, and that leaves me with 6x squared plus 35x plus 36. Now I need the factors of 6. We know they're 1 and 6 and 2 and 3. And the factors of 36. There's lots of factors of 36. Since the numbers are almost always in the middle, just start with the middle. 6 times 6, 4 times 9. And if we need something else, we can continue. Rewrite your house. I'm going to put the 2x and the 3x here. I know that everything is positive, so I put 2 plus signs there. I draw my happy face. Now we need to decide, do I want the 6 and 6 or the 4 and 9? So we'll go ahead and start with that 6 and 6 and see what happens. 6 and 6, they're the same number, so it doesn't matter where I put them. 6 times 3 is 18, and 2 times 6 is 12. 18 plus 12 gives me 30x. That's not my middle term, 35. Too small. So if you come up with a number too small, that means you need to get away from the middle and start moving to larger numbers like 4 and 9. So we plug the 4 and 9 in. Again, I need a fairly big number, 35. So I'm going to put the bigger number so that it multiplies times the bigger number. And then I'm going to put the smaller number so it multiplies times the smaller number. 9 times 3 is 27x. 2x times 4 is a positive 8x. 27 plus 8 is 35x positive. And that's what I needed, 35x. This is my answer. Okay, like always, we take out a GCF. Then we can build our house. Always remember that GCF comes with you no matter where you go. Because the end is negative, that means I'm going to have a positive and a negative. Then we start filling things in. The only factors of 5 are 5 and 1. The factors of 8, 1 times 8 and 4 times 2, always start with the middle term. Because 6 is a fairly small number, I don't want the 4 to multiply times the 5. That's going to be too big. So I'm going to multiply the 4 times the 1 right there, and the 2 will go times the 5. Then we check. That gives me 4x minus 10x, which gives me negative 6x. We check the middle term. Yep, negative 6x works, and we have our answer. Don't forget to include the GCF as part of your answer. As always, we look for a greatest common factor. There is no greatest common factor, but my A term has a negative right there. So if it has a negative, no matter what, we always are going to divide by negative 1. That gives me negative or negative 1 as my GCF, and switch the signs of everything else. Keep the GCF in the front. Because the end is negative, I know I'm going to have a positive and a negative. The factors of 4 are 2x and 2x. The factors of 15 are 3 and 5. Because the middle number is positive, I'm going to put the bigger number as a positive, which gives me 10x, negative 6x. 10 take away 6 is 4x. We check and it works. This is our answer. Don't forget the GCF. This one should go quick and simple. There's no GCF. Factors of 4 are 2x and 2x. Because the end is positive but the middle is negative, that means I have two negatives. We draw our happy face. And the factors of 9 are 3 and 3. We check. Negative 6x, and 2 times negative 3 is negative 6x. Gives me negative 12x. We check to make sure it works, and it does, but then we notice something. These two factors are the exact same. That means we can write it in more simplified form. 2x minus 3 squared. And that is our answer. One more time, we build our houses. Because the end is positive but the middle is negative, they're both minus. This 49, it breaks up into 7x and 7x. 25 breaks up into 5 times 5. We always start with the terms that are most similar to each other. Then we check. Negative 5 times 7 is negative 35x. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35x. Negative 35 gives me negative 70x. I check the middle term, negative 70x, and then again we notice that the two pieces are identical. So we go ahead and rewrite them with the perfect square. Moving on to the difference of two squares. If you remember from last time, the difference of two squares is simply when you have two squares with a subtraction or a difference in front. Whenever we do a difference of two squares, it's always the same thing. Build your house, put a plus and a minus, and then take the square root. The square root of 100 is 10. The square root of x squared is x. The square root of 4 is 2. The square root of y squared is simply y. Another difference of squares, we have 16 is a perfect square, 81 is a perfect square, x to the fourth, the exponent's even, which means it's a perfect square, and a difference or subtraction in the middle. Build our two houses, a plus and a minus. The square root of 16 is 4x squared, and 4x squared. Square root of 81 is 9. Now if you notice on the right, 4 is a perfect square, x squared, and 9 are all perfect squares with a difference in the middle. So we have to do that one again. 2x plus 3 and 2x minus 3. I simply took the square root of 9 and the square root of 4. I'm not using this term anymore because we broke it up, and we rewrite everything. One more. We have 8x to the 6 minus 50y to the 6. Well, we know that the x and y to the 6th power are perfect squares, but the 8 and 50 aren't. So we look for a GCF. I have a GCF of 2. Now I have 4 and 25, which are both perfect squares, so I can take the difference of squares. Remember, your GCF is always in front. When you build your house, we have a plus and a minus. Square root of 4 is 2x cubed, and the square root of 25 is 5y cubed.